But we're going to jump right in because you asked me a question when we were downstairs that I'm not going to be offended by, although I could be. My brother asked me, was I from New York? It hurt. Come on. It just, I worked so hard to represent my borough, and yet still. Oh, come on. That was great. Thank you for that. But, everybody knows, and I think in a lot of ways you carry Brooklyn on your back, that you represent Brooklyn and
the People's Republic.
But you know, we're both New Yorkers, and New York shows up in your work in various ways. Can you talk a little bit about how New York has shaped your understanding or your connection to social justice work and social change?
Well, I tell my students at University of Graduate Film School that when you start out, the easiest thing to do to tell your story is tell your story. Your story is where you grew up, who your family is, and stuff like that. So, and I mean, many filmmakers have done that with Woody Allen, you know, Martin Scorsese. You know, films about, you know, their upbringing, and look at George Lucas with American Graffiti, you know, that was him in high school. Grew up in Brooklyn, and so the stories come from just observing the world around me.
I'm curious about, I know you're from Atlanta originally, and then...
Born in Atlanta. Grady Hospital.
Right, you were born in Grady? Thank God you made it. Deep Atlanta joke. My bad.
Grady baby. When we moved from Atlanta to Brooklyn.
Oh.
I was like 2 years old.
Oh, okay. You really are deep. Okay. So when did you say you became politicized? Like, do you remember a moment that a light bulb went off in your head, or was it a book or a film?
Just growing up in a elite household, because listen to what my parents would say at dinner time, that my parents were very, very aware of what's happening in the world to black folks, people of color, and they wanted their children, I'm the first of 5, they wanted their children to know what's happening, not walk around not knowing.
So what did that come with that? What were your parents' background that made them so political?
Well, my great-great-grandfather was a disciple of Booker T. Washington.
Was a what?
Disciple of Booker T. Washington. Studied on him at Tuskegee. I come from educated black folks. My mother went to Spelman. My grandmother went to Spelman. My father went to Morehouse. And my grandfather went to Morehouse.
Your legacy runs deep.
Educated. So when my father was a freshman, Dr. Martin Luther King was a senior. And Martin Luther King, the third and I were class of 79.
Wow. Okay, that explains that. I mean, my grandfather we have a similar background. My grandfather was a guardian and had me, you know, people, it's always so interesting to me that people don't realize just how black I am, because I talk about sexual violence and they think those things are mutually exclusive. But I think one of the things that most black folks love about you, one of the things I love about you from early on, is just how black you are. And people use unapologetic a lot, but it's without apology early. And when things happen, we knew that you would have something to say or make a statement culturally, or just a statement generally from your place.
But what I did, though, I've never ever, I want to clarify, so I never ever presented to anyone in the public or in private that I was speaking on behalf of black folks. It was just, this is just my opinion, and a lot of times I said, this is my opinion, and I'm not speaking on behalf of 45 million African Americans because I never thought that way of speaking to everybody.
but what you spoke resonated with so many black people, and so then, you know how that works.
Mhm.
It's like, oh, this is exactly what I'm saying in my kitchen, to my friends, to my, whatever. So there's a level of appreciation. And you didn't have to say it because we saw it in the movie. We saw it come out in the work. I'm thinking about, of course we're here because it's the 30th anniversary of Do the Right Thing.
Right.
So, at the risk of being one of those people who talk too much about themselves when they're supposed to be interviewing, I have to say, 1989 in particular, so again, born and raised in New York, I became politicized very early because of my family as well.
Garvey.
Yeah. And, right. And so, when Yusuf Hawkins was murdered, and there were, people don't realize, like, there was all these things that happened before Yusuf Hawkins, right? And subsequently after. But when Yusuf Hawkins was murdered, we had Do the Right Thing come out, we had Yusuf Hawkins be murdered, and then the video for Fight the Power. Very much so, a lot of me becoming politicized is in that time, right? I'm 46, so it falls right in that. I'm 46? I think I'm 46. Something like that. And so it falls right in that sweet spot. It was just like, what a time to be alive. Just David Dinkins running for mayor. Like, I remember campaigning for David Dinkins and Do the Right Thing.
First African-American.
First African-American mayor of New York. Yeah, and only.
Still with us, too.
I'm just wondering what you think about the parallels, because I think about this often, how so many young people who are in political work now, social justice work now, don't really understand that we were very much politicized in the 80s and 90s, and that the movement didn't stop when Dr. King died and pick up, when Trayvon Martin was murdered. And so one of the things I appreciate is that I think Do the Right Thing and some of your other work documents a time period that doesn't have a lot of documentation.
Well, at that time, there's a lot of racial conflict in New York City. It was not helped by the mayor, Ed Koch.
Yeah.
So here's how Do the Right Thing came about. Before I knew what the movie was going to be about, I knew the title would be Do the Right Thing.
Really?
That's a common phrase. I didn't make it up. Just here's a common, conversation. Do the right thing. So this is my third film. School Days, She's Gonna Have 86. School Days, 88. Do the Right Thing was 89. So once I had the title, I knew that this film would take place in one day, the hottest day of the summer. And historically in New York City, there's been like a love-hate relationship between Italian Americans and African Americans, sometimes in violence. And 3 African American men, car runs out of gas, and Howard Beach, they go into the New World Pizzeria, they're called AAA. They're chased out of it. One of the African American men, Michael Griffin, to get away, runs on the LIE, get hit by a car. Then at Brooklyn College, there's a big brouhaha in the cafeteria because there's like a big thing between the African American students and Italian American students about what music is going to be played on the jukebox. Then, in 1983, a young graffiti artist named Michael Stewart was tagging the Union Station, the Union Square subway station, and 11 New York City Transit Authority cops jumped on him and applied the chokehold on him. 11 days, he wouldn't come. 11 days later, he died. So, Ray Rahim is not made up. Right. A lot of people know this. Ray Rahim was based upon the chokehold of Michael Stewart. So, I wrote this I wrote and we shot Do the Right Thing in 88, came out 89. And then 5 years ago, to see Eric Garner it was eerie. And there was no ban on the chokehold when Michael Stewart was murdered.
Right.
New York City police had banned the chokehold for Eric Garner. And the fact riding down here in the train from New York, it's a big they're trying to get that guy fired.
Yeah.
And so it was just 30 years ago, the same shit is happening. But we just had the crystal ball. You remember the film, ML? Paul Benjamin. He's one of the actors in the corner. He was talking about global warming. There's a lot of things that we are dealing with in that film that makes it still present. That film is not dated.
Not at all.
It didn't connect. So Ray Rahim's character, he had a boom box. And so in a film, if someone has a radio, you don't shoot the radio on, you add that in production. So all the time Ray Rahim's walking around in the movie, there's no music coming out of the box. So I knew it was very important. We had to have an anthem. Because in New York, historically, it's like one song that's going to be the song of summer, and you go anywhere, you're going to hear the same song. One song. There's always, am I right? Right or wrong? Right or wrong? There's one song. I can't talk about Philadelphia, because I don't know.
They just play Summertime every year.
Love for Philadelphia. Philadelphia, my film since 1986, she's gonna have it. So,
Everybody knows I lived here for 8 years. I got
I'm just messing with
but y'all do play Summertime a lot.
you. So, I knew I would have to have public input. But Fight the Power was not the first thing they gave me. It was hard in them. I don't blame them, because when I said give me the song, the film wasn't in shape to show it to them. So the second try, they saw the film.
Oh, okay.
And then that's where you have probably the greatest hip hop song ever.
Fight the Power. So the thing that I think about all the time is that, and we gave Chuck D an award when I lived in Selma some years ago, and one of the things, it was a Civil Rights Award, and one of the things I said at that ceremony is that when you think of civil rights, a lot of times you think about civil rights music, right, that went along with it. But songs like Fight the Power were definitely the soundtrack to our political work during that time period. And it was, Welcome to the Terror Dome, Public Enemy, Boogie Down Productions, Poor Rights Speeches, like there was. But I feel like we had movies like Do the Right Thing, we had songs like Fight the Power that were an undergirding of the actual political work that was happening on the ground. And when I think about the parallels to now, right, there's parallels between Yusuf Hawkins and Trayvon Martin. There's still rampant police brutality. There's still, white men who kill black children with impunity. Exactly, right? But what I don't see in the same way is a cultural undergirding that represents what's happening politically. And I'm wondering what you think about that, about the sort of an absence of in the mainstream. There's a lot of stuff that happens underground, a lot of stuff that happens independently, but in the mainstream we don't see a similar kind of undergirding of what's happening politically, particularly in communities of color. And maybe I'm wrong, but what do you think about that?
Honestly,
You don't agree with that?
I don't want to sound like an old fuddy-duddy like that, you know, the young people aren't doing what we were doing.
I don't mean it in that way, but I think that...
That's what I heard.
Look at it. Answer how you heard.
No, I've always been very careful to try to condemn the younger generation because they were doing that to me. So I really, you know, I think they just have everybody, the next generation wants a different way to do something. Yeah. They want to, you know, claim, you know, build upon the past.
Yeah.
And still move forward in the way they see it. And also, we didn't have the technology that
they have
now.
But I think I mean more so in pop culture. So there's a lot of blackness, right, out in culture. We see a lot of new, like say.
And also, then we can also say, what is the definition of blackness too?
I'm not doing that.
but when you say the word, then like, what are you talking about?
But in various ways, right? Blackness shows up in all, it's no monolith, we know that, and it shows up in all kinds of different ways, whether you're Issa Rae or Atlanta or whatever, right? It shows up in a lot of different ways. And I think those kind of people who do break through bring in a political commentary that's necessary for sure. But and maybe it's because it was so big in my life, it feels like it was a bigger, more pop culture, more mainstream kind of thing. And you know, maybe I'm all fun daddy, but it doesn't feel like it's the same.
I would contend there's more blackness now in TV and film than it was in 1989.
Yes, and I'm talking about the nature of the work, right? So I don't know that there's an anthem, and it doesn't have to be exactly the same, but I guess I'm asking you about where the parallels are. Something like how Fight the Power was our fight music, right? So the flip side is though, but wait.
Kendrick song?
Oh, we gonna be alright.
Yeah, there you go, that's one.
Check.
That's an anthem.
No, it definitely was an anthem. It got us through a lot, for sure. Fight the Power is what you said? Absolutely. Absolutely. One other question I wanted to ask you about Do the Right Thing. I read a lot of commentary, two questions. I read a lot of commentary because you just said you filmed it in '88. It was based on these other things that happened in New York. But when it came out, there was this backlash of people saying that you were trying to...
White critics. White critics. David Denby.
He's like, this one and that one.
Jack Crow. There was this. If you have, write down these names. You should do the research. No, do the research and read their reviews. Joe Klein and David Denby, they were writing for New York Magazine. Jack Crow wrote for Newsweek. And to put this stuff together, that black people were rioting en masse, seeing this film. That blood will be in my hands. I'm telling you what they wrote. That dynamite will be on the seats. That pray to God this film is not open in your neighborhood. That this film will be the reason why David Dinkel's not become the first African-American mayor of New York City. It was racist like a motherfucker. And it was really disrespectful to people of color, to black folks, the movie-going audience of black and brown people, because we were so stupid that we cannot distinguish between what's in the film and what's in real life. Whereas I never heard anybody complain about white folks going berserk after seeing the Arnold Schwarzenegger films at that time. So it was just pure racist. I mean, and they could write that shit today. I mean, it was just blatant. And another thing that was in a lot of reviews for the film is that they bemoaned the fact that Sal's famous pizzeria was burnt down.
Yes. Wait.
And not one word about the loss of life.
Yeah.
So right away they told you they value white-owned property
More than brown people's body.
more than, what did you say?
Brown people's body.
There you go.
So I also read something that said when you said you wrote Danny Aiello's character as racist, and he said he was a misunderstood guy.
Oh.
And I'm just and the person in this critique I was reading, the person was a film professor, and he said every year when he shows his film in his class, the black students always sympathize with Mookie, and the white students always sympathize with Sal, saying, why did Mookie throw the garbage can through the
Well, in the 30 years this film has come out, not one black and brown person has ever asked me, why did Mookie throw the garbage? Not once. Not once. Uno in Spanish. Now, once has that ever happened. But the thing about, for me, one of the reasons why the film works dramatically is the conflict. And when you have conflict, where you have opposing sides, but both have validity. Let me give an example. Sal's bugging out, played by the great
yes.
John Esposito.
Yes.
His beef is this. Sal's is in Bed-Stuy, do or die, Black Brooklyn. Gentrification not real. Oh, that's another thing. We talk about gentrification.
We're gonna talk about it in a minute. Finish it.
1989. We were talking about gentrification. 89. Anyway.
We're gonna get shirts that says Spike Lee did it first.
Also, wake up and take the vote. Wake up came way before woke. You gotta wake up or you woke. So don't be thinking like this shit you're doing is new.
Hashtag Spike Lee did it first.
But get back to it though. Sal's clientele is black and Puerto Rican. Ain't no Italian Americans buying slices from Sal. He makes his money off the hard-earned money of black and Puerto Ricans. There weren't Dominicans in Brooklyn yet. So. Not back then. They went. When Dominicans hit New York, they went to Dominican. They went to Washington Heights, which is not.
And the Bronx.
And the Bronx, the boogie down.
Come on.
So, Sal's argument is this. This is my pizzeria, as Danielle would pronounce it, pizzeria. And if you want to put, I forgot. So, Bugging Out wants, his beef is, we come here every day and there's not any brothers on the wall. All Italian Americans. As Danny says, I went to Italy, I'd rather say American Italian. So Sal says, look, if you want brothers on the wall, start your own business. You can't get mad at Sal for that. Well, let me finish. And there's another thing brought into the question. Why the Koreans just got here? Why they had that fruit and vegetable stand? The corner, we're talking about that. They just got here. Within a 10-year period, every motherfucking fruit and vegetable stand was owned by Koreans. They just got here.
how people say segregation was. There was a time, come on now.
Yeah.
Black hotels,
Yeah.
black everything.
Yeah.
There's a reason there's a Morehouse, a Howard, HU. We weren't allowed to go. Motherfucking George Wallace stood in the motherfucking door. So Victor Lowe could not go. We weren't allowed to. And so, we just abandoned black businesses.
My grandma always say we think white folks' ice is colder.
No. So that conflict was really, to me, the engine of the film. And they both, I think, have eliminated. If someone says, you can have this, you can't do this, then we have to have amongst ourselves, you know what? Okay. If you can't, everybody here is black and brown, and we support your business. And you still can't respect us? Now, you can have what we can boycott, which is what Bugatti wanted to do. And we get our own business. So we had that, I mean, that's, for me again, I'm going to repeat myself, but that's what makes the film great, because you had this thing about representation.
But I also
That wall is representation. They're only Italian, Frank Sinatra, De Niro, Pacino, Joe DiMaggio.
And we had to come and watch that every day. The two things that makes me think about is about, and I think that you did well in this movie too, is about black rage and about black accountability. Or accountability, not just black accountability. But black rage is always vilified, right? It's always something that, shown in ways that we're crazy, we're too much, we do too much. And I think when people see Mookie throw the garbage can through the window, they don't understand that, because we're not allowed to be angry. We're not allowed to have rage. And it happens on the backdrop of somebody who's beloved in the community being murdered. But that gets canceled in the conversation about it because we don't have the right to rage. And I think it was such a beautiful scene just a powerful scene, the throwing the garbage can through the window and the subsequent, rage that comes from the community. It gets let out.
And also, it was a surprise to many of the Alliance members that Mookie was the one
To do it.
because, Mookie was a slacker, really.
Yeah, he was deadbeat daddy. We can talk about that. Okay. I got you. So, I want to talk about accountability. So, when we talk about accountability, and particularly in the work that I'm doing, the conversation often gets derailed, right? Or co-opted or transfixed on guilt and blame. And even though I've said many, many times that because harm happens on the spectrum, accountability should happen on the spectrum. Yes. But people don't seem to hear that. So I think we don't talk enough about accountability from a place of love and common ground. And I'm wondering, in this moment where Me Too has become a dominant conversation, and we're talking about sexual violence and gender-based violence, how your work has changed, if you think your work has changed with the national conversation.
My work did not change because of what you talk about. My work changed when I got married. When I married, Tine was Lee.
Yeah.
You could look at my films.
Yeah, I read something where she critiqued Girl 6, and I was like, oh, okay.
Yeah, Tine is my hardest critic. She didn't like nothing I do.
Where you said if you were to do She's Gotta Have It Again, you would not do the rape scene.
Yeah, I said that 1987, the year after the film came out, so it's not like that. I mean, that's a revelation.
Well, why is that? Why would you take the scene out?
It was just stupid.
Come on, Spike Lee. You think it was just stupid?
Yeah, it was if you have stuff that's not sensitive, if you're a filmmaker or any type of artist, you know, your art is out there in the world. It's not like you could, I'm not go back to a new release of make a Criterion collection of she's gonna have to cut that scene out. You know, I'm not gonna do that. It's there.
It is there. You've received a lot of criticism over the years about the way you portray women. And
You know what though? I think I got a bad rap. If people look at Brooklyn, if people look at Annual BlackStar role as Betty Shabazz, I mean, please, you look at the films, you know, look at the body of work. If you look at the films, I think that UA doesn't have it.
Okay, that's fair because it's your work. I think that when we look at a body of work too, just like we can pull out, I mean, I love Angela Bassett's portrayal of Betty Shabazz so much. But I also think, you know, there's Girl 6, there's, what's the movie with the lesbians?
Now let me ask you a question though. How many films? So you named 2 films.
I did.
Somebody go to IBDM and tell me how many films are there.
But don't do that.
No, I'm listening because if you look at I've been doing films 3 decades, and you're gonna pull out 2 or 3 films out of 32 years of work.
But you built out 2 or 3 films of black women that was done well. You like Angela Bassett.
I can't. Let's talk. Anybody see the last 2 seasons of She's Gonna Have It on Netflix? The last 19 episodes. Let's talk about the black women, my most recent work. The black women, and she's gotta have it. Let's talk about Laura Harring's role in Black Klansman.
We can talk about the wonderful ways that you portray women, but I'm also asking you about, clearly I see how you feel about the critique. Listen.
The reason I feel like critique because it is overblown. They go like, she's gonna have it. This film, you think of the overall body of work.
But that's not how critique works, and you know.
Yes, it is. You're not critiquing Chris's work just by motherfucking Purple Rain. We have a difference. When I look at the artist, I look at the artist, a novelist. I look at their work through their body of work.
But not looking at a body. Wait. Calm down. Body of work. If you look at a body of work, even if you love the person, and I love your work, but as a person who loves your work, I also get to say, oh, I love this work. I have questions about this, and that.
You have a different viewpoint. This is Spike Lee. Let me finish, please. As Spike Lee, I said, when I look at an artist, I look at their entire body of work. When I look at Stevie Wonder,
So you listen to that play album?
Psychological Plan, yes. The Psychological Plan. Body of work.
Right.
That's how we do it. Some people might say, well, that album's terrible, so that obliterates all everything else they've done.
That's not what I said, though.
That's what I'm saying, though.
Is that what you heard?
What do you want me to say? You want me to talk about something I said? Did I say she had was a mistake? Yes. Let's talk about 32 years of work. If you look at it.
Brother, you went
Overall, the graph I have is Spike Lee has negative images throughout his work, throughout his body work, the black women is bullshit.
Did I say that?
I hear that though.
But that no.
It's not what you said, but it's still that word that's been addressed.
Right. Let's go back to what I actually said.
It's not what you said. This is
So you're sensitive about this clearly, right? I body of work. I'm not saying we don't like black women. I'm not saying any of that. I was trying to get you to talk about the criticism that you've received about portrayals of black women in your films. Yes. That's it. But can you talk about it? Like,
I thought I did talk about it. Yes, I did. Yes, I did. Yes, I did. When I said that my films changed when I married Tine Lee, I said, look at my films before I got married and look at my films afterward. There's a difference. And I think that's it.
that's your final answer. All right. This is lovely.
The thing about it is that I've never said in 30 years I can't be critiqued. Never said that. You've heard me say I can't, as a filmmaker, I can't be
I
critiqued.
just thought you blow up on the stage because I asked you a simple question.
No, it's not a simple question.
Why?
Because this is something, as I said before, your question to me is something that's been dogged in my career as a filmmaker, and I said my answer was what this bias, this lots of self-critique to me is more than what your question is. That's what I'm addressing.
Okay, but you know what would have been lovely?
But here's the thing, you can first of all, you're not telling me, Spike, you should answer the question this way. I answered the question the way I want to answer it. You can't tell me, Spike,
In the way you wanted to answer, and I'm not. That's fine.
you just told me, you just said, Spike, I'm getting wonderful that you answered this way.
I didn't know that's what I'm saying. My man,
You wouldn't tell me how to answer the question.
I'm not telling you know what. Let's move on. I'm not telling you how to answer. What I'm saying to you is what I experienced on this stage. I was reflecting back to you because that's what I was taught. I was reflecting back to you what I experienced on this stage. What I experienced was you blowing up at me asking you a question based on your sensitivity from years of critique around this thing. When this was an opportunity for you to just talk to this audience about shifting what you think is a misunderstanding.
And again, I'll say it the third time. I'll say it the third time. I said to the audience, if you look at my films, before I got to this,
Okay, if that's the answer.
I said, if you look at my films, there's a distinct difference.
But specific.
What's the difference?
Be specific.
At the films. Look at the films.
But he doesn't say.
Go to the date. Go to the date when I was married, and then go to IBM and look at that film.
Portray this woman as this.
All right. What I'd love to do now is have the audience. Do we still have time for that? We don't. We done took up the Q&A for the audience. The last question I'm going to ask then is, and you started talking about this a little bit earlier when you said you don't speak for black people, but who is your work for? And don't say everyone.
I work for myself.
The work you create is for yourself.
Yes. When I was in film school, I said I want to be an artist and I want to build a body of work. And there's shit that people don't like, stuff they like. And I'm going to tell the story as I see it. And I'm very blessed to do it.
You have.